This video is sponsored by Tokyo Treat and Sakura Co. Want to taste authentic Japanese snacks but too broke or lazy to go to Japan? Find out how to get your hands on some at the end of the video. In 2023, we have a variety of mummies. We got the crazy ones. We got the single ones living in your area. But for this video, we're gonna be talking about a different kind of mummy. Warner Bros. UK just released a new movie about a secret Egyptian society where mummies live in hiding from humans and live for eternity. And as soon as I saw the trailer, I knew I was gonna review it because I sensed it would have given me the same vibes as a few movies I've reviewed in the past, namely Ballerina or Leap and Charming. Hey guys, what is up? It is me, Rosmo, and I present to you guys Mummies 2023. I got interested in this movie when I saw the trailers because it looked good and the gags were funny enough. And a movie about ancient Egyptians getting teleported to the modern world? That sounds like fun. I'm very fond of the usual fish out of water trope, so I assumed this was my cup of tea. This movie had a lot to go through before it actually went to the big screen, in selected countries at least because it didn't where I live. This movie was supposed to be released in 2021 but got delayed for 2 years, which by the dates I can totally see why it was delayed. It wasn't even supposed to be called Mummies, it was supposed to be released as Mumios because of Warner Bros. UK's partnership with Astros Media and Warner Bros. España, though I think in certain countries it's still called Mumios. Then, when 2023 hit, it was released in Spain and some theaters in America, Australia, and then the UK. It's surprising how much the gap between the showings was from each other, from the first one being January 5th and then February 24th and then March 31st in the order of countries I mentioned. Listen to this, guys. It earned 47.3 million USD at the box office, which was more than how much the budget they had for the film, with only an estimated $12.6 million or 11.6 million euros, which is really good for them. People seem to like it with a 87% on Rotten Tomatoes, but surprisingly 53% with critic ratings. I don't really trust Rotten Tomatoes in giving reviews at all, but it's still really interesting to see the difference between the audience and critics, especially after the incident with the Mario movie. So this movie is about characters who lived in ancient Egypt being transported to the modern world, but there's actually more than what the trailer shows. I said it in the intro, but let me brief you in with more tea. So they're actually mummies that live forever, and they live in hiding from humans. That's the setting and background of the movie, but the main story centers around an ex-charioteer named Tut, who quit being a chariot racer because his last race ended in an accident, which actually made him scared of going fast. His little brother Sekhem, along with a tiny baby alligator named, I actually don't know his name or if he has one, but he's adorable and I love him. Then we have Nefer or Nefer, the pharaoh's daughter, who has a passion for singing but is discouraged from doing so because it is a servant or entertainer's job and not one of royalty, as they said. The plot starts off not too long when the pharaoh chooses a husband for her daughter using the phoenix bird guided by the goddess of love Hathor. She obviously doesn't feel like getting married because she's not ready and tells her dad she doesn't want to, but you know the drill. If someone in a movie doesn't want something, you give it to them anyway. The plot kicks in when Sekhem is playing with a boomerang and hits the phoenix bird while looking for a husband. It falls to their house and thinks that Tut must be her fated husband, and even though both of them refuse, they have no choice because if Tut refuses, his eyes will be gouged out and his tongue will be cut. Oh, in-laws, am I right? I would know, I ain't married. Then he is given the responsibility to look after the ring until the wedding, and if he loses it, eyes out, tongue cut. This will definitely stress anybody out, so in fear of losing the ring, he goes to the farthest place in the desert where he keeps all of his prized possessions. Then humans break in and steal all his stuff, especially the ring. Conveniently, where these guys were excavating is the exact place of Tut's treasure hoard. Plot convenience at its finest. And now we're all off on an adventure together. Nefer also tags along because she was curious about what they were doing, and now she's in it for the ride, which was weird because you'd think that the pharaoh's daughter would be heavily guarded, but no. Their initial goal was to get the ring, but ended up giving Nefer a chance to use her talents and sing. A producer found her and made her sing a song which went viral and also helped them a lot while giving her a platform, advertising her, and giving her money to shop for clothes. Like, bro, this guy is too nice, and Tut is always straight up rude to him. They go into a bunch of hijinks and get kidnapped, but escaped and got back to Egypt. Yay, that's the story. Just kidding. Lord Carnaby, the antagonist that wants to kidnap these guys, show off his discovery in a museum, chases after them, and they have this big action sequence and he dies, and Tut and Nefer get married. Yay! Then by the end, they play Walk Like an Egyptian, which Nefer sings, and which my brother kept reminding me that it's the song from JoJo. He keeps telling me that's from JoJo. Stop, I know it's from JoJo.
Hey, father!
Wait,
Is that breathing in here? Is that a JoJo reference? Are you producing a hormone right now?
It's all simple but nice and all, but as straightforward as the story seems, I really like how they set up their characters and the world building. I like the premise of them being immortal and their skeletons being shown when they're exposed to bright light, showing that they really aren't humans, and that they would need to be careful because one wrong move and they'll be exposed. I actually don't know why they're hiding from humans. Maybe I missed that part, but it doesn't really take away how interesting the fact of it all is. That fact, as well as them being part of ancient Egypt, brings about a lot of funny moments, like the one where I saw in the trailer where they were worshipping the PA system in the mall, thinking it's Ra, an Egyptian god, or when the woman's voice in the bus tells them when the next stop is, and they still think it's Ra, and led to this funny interaction.
Where do I go?
This is the bus to the South Bank.
Yeah, you're always with us.
Laura's a woman.
Got a problem with that?
I can't help but laugh at that joke, but also because it makes sense why he would ask that. Because a few scenes ago, they thought that they heard Ra in the mall and it was a man's voice. The comedy in this movie isn't the choke on air kind of hilarious, but they definitely do have some funny moments. And even if there were any bad ones, which probably flew over my head, or they didn't have any, it isn't like Marvel humor bad, you know? I hate that that line is the easiest way for me to tell you what bad humor is like, but we're in that timeline, I guess. I definitely like the humor in this movie. Like I said, everything was fun. The romance part wasn't something I was really thinking about in the movie, even though it was the driving force of the movie, of them not wanting to get married but ended up liking each other anyway. I usually am the first, okay, to jump and be excited about romantic subplots of any movie, but the characters' stories are a lot more compelling than the romantic interactions between the two, with how Nefer finds where she belongs and for the first time, free to sing and just have the ability to choose freely for the first time in her life. Then we have Tut, who does seem like a really likable and kind person, and I couldn't help but root for him throughout the whole movie because I would also be losing my mind trying to find that ring so I don't have to lose my tongue and eyes. But the good thing was his character was being somewhat a leader and good under pressure, so he wasn't the kind of character to lash out at people when feeling frustrated. I initially thought he was gonna be the silly dumb one like in Charming because they look alike, but surprisingly he was different in a good way. This one is an overstretched potato, and this guy is just a patient dude who just wants to get over his fears. With Nefer and Tut, as much as With Nefer and Tut, as much as these two are really likable characters, their romance was a bit forced. I would have loved it if they ended up as platonic friends because that seemed like the natural progression of things based on what I was seeing in the movie, or just make them fall in love in the next movie. But then again, going the romantic route for this movie would work too if they made things more natural. Unlike how at the end where Nefer was desperately trying to reach out to save Tut, this happens.
Oh no!
I love you.
I legit burst out laughing at how awkward that moment was. I would have tolerated it if Tut just said something like, "Live your dream," or something as cheesy as what he said, but no, he just straight up said, "I love you," out of nowhere. I mean, it's a good line if his character arc was someone who struggles with saying what he really feels or saying "I love you," but no, his arc was overcoming his fears and getting to know Nefer and seeing her as an equal. So for him to say "live your dream" or something similar would have been so nice to see in my opinion, because it shows that even in his sacrificial last moments, he was thinking about Nefer's life and her dreams. I also don't get why Nefer didn't just stay in London so she can sing. I know that she needed to go home so that, you know, Tut doesn't get tortured, but I wanted to see her stay in London for some reason so that she could live her life freely, or at least come back to London, because she did say that she feels more like she belongs there, but she stayed back home. I mean, at least she could sing to her heart's content now. Well, I mean, it's hard to say because the time that she sings in front of her father is like the ending of Shrek 2, where they just have this big song number to close the movie. But I'd like to think that she can sing as much as she wants now.
It's about time things changed, I suppose.
Well, never mind then. It seems like she can. Nice. Also, there was a scene at the end where she goes back to her dad and instead of getting angry at her, he hugs her because he was so worried. I felt like with a bit more background and build up to both of their characters and relationship as father and daughter, this would have been a lot more emotional. Like make Nefer mention her father a bunch of times while she was in London, or show her father worried sick and doing everything he can to find her. But I guess with already so much going on in the movie, they couldn't add the latter idea. The thing that really made me want to review this movie was the music, because this movie is somewhat of a musical, and you know me. I love musicals, so I was so hyped to hear them sing. The songs in this movie were more pop and one theater song. It's not entirely a musical and the music isn't grand or awe-inspiring, but I just felt like it would be great for people to watch this film and hear the music put into it. I would have loved it so much if they mixed in traditional Egyptian sound and modern pop together for Nefer's song, which, spoiler alert for the movie, they didn't do that. I think the song that I really liked the most, well, there were only 3 songs, but it was the Ring song that I liked the most. See, the first song Nefer sings is titled New Song, where the movie stops in its tracks to showcase Nefer walking in her palace as she sings about what she wants in her life, the usual I want song in musicals, to establish what the goal of our protagonist is. You see the servants dancing to her song and get interrupted by her guardian. The other song, titled I'm Today, is a song made for Nefer to sing, made by the producer Ed, which was a way to show some cute fun clips of the gang and Nefer singing her heart out. Also a bunch of ugly outfits for Nefer that I knew there would have been some kind of outfit that would make her look good, but they just didn't put that there. Now, unlike the 2 songs, in between it, I like the Ring song because it doesn't stop in its tracks for the movie and it doesn't time skip in the song. It stays in the moment. The story progresses in the song and you just can't daze out while the song plays because it's part of the story. And also the fact that they were in a high stakes area full of lights and eyes on them to get caught really got my attention. I mean, just listen.
Oh, great Radames, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but this ring is mine, this ring is mine. Return it to me, please. My eternal gratitude. Pledge my heart and soul to you. Please give me back my ring. Radames.
I like how the camera panned to her feet first before showing the many people watching. It gave the feeling of, oh, she's actually doing this. She's here and she's coming. And I love seeing the actors on stage look extremely confused and the conductor is just stressing the frick out because of Nefer just jumping in out of nowhere. And then Nefer and the theater actor just kept outshining each other in terms of voice. None of them want to harmonize or back up the other because they both have the same goal, albeit completely different at the same time. Theater lady wanted everyone to listen to her because she's the star and this is their show, not Nefer's. But Nefer wanted everyone to listen to her to get her ring. And as much as the 2 voice clashing is a bit jarring to listen to, it did make sense since these 2 are fighting, but they're just using their voices. The Ring song is also the only song that actually sounded Egyptian with the riffs and strings at the start, but it lost a bit by the end when Nefer jumped in. Or actually, maybe the reason why Nefer never had Egyptian vibes in her song is because she doesn't feel like she fits in where she lives and finds herself more in the modern pop environment in the city. But I might just be giving them too much credit, I don't know. I also asked a friend of mine who knows a lot about music since I wasn't really familiar with what Egyptian music was like and what accounts as Egyptian music. The closest Egyptian vibe in music that I can think of is Yu-Gi-Oh! And that's a Japanese anime, so I can't be trusted with this kind of information. So I'm gonna be reading to you guys the fun facts that he sent me, and I'm gonna put on my reading glasses because I don't speak nerd. Back in ye old times, there were a lot of focus on percussions, any form of drums, rattles, tambourines, bells, and cymbals, probably closer to their peak. They also stole the lute from Mesopotamia city-states, as well as harps and lyres. The latter you see a lot in their wall paintings. I believe really old wind instruments like flutes and clarinets were popular too. Then I asked him if Egyptian music in modern time has a unique sound to it still that is kind of related to how it sounded way back when. So he said this: as for nowadays, things have diversified a little more because of European and Western influences, but if we focus more on traditional Egyptian stuff, they still focus on a lot of percussions and harps and flute sounds, with the addition of brass instruments such as trumpets, trombones, and snare drums. In fact, pop music over there still has a really big focus on their drums. He also mentioned that an instrument called a sistrum was used for religious practices in Egypt, but is used in traditional Roman music because they had good relations with Egypt and all that jazz. It really is interesting to learn about, and it would have been great to see incorporated into Nefer's song and music. I honestly felt like they could, because the Ring song had vibes of it, and really did mix pop and Egyptian sounds to the song. But I like to think it was a creative choice to show Nefer's disposition in her own home. Okay, now that I managed to get my thoughts on the music out already, we can move on and talk about the movie itself, because it's not the best movie, nor do I think it's bad, but I really just enjoyed my watch of it. I like this movie. I wish they could have arranged the pacing properly though, because the movie felt like they were jumping from one plot development to another without moments to just sit and breathe and got to know the characters more. And when they do make those moments happen, it happens happens way too early. In this scene, after Nefer goes viral with her voice and song, and both Nefer and Tut stand by the balcony where she just talks about how she found her place here and reassures Tut that she will help him find the ring with him. And then it ends right there with Nefer cuddling with the no name but I wish I had a name crocodile, saying that,
maybe we... Come on, what am I saying? I know, we're from two different worlds anyway.
Which I felt would have had more of an impact if we knew more about Tut before this scene happened, because so far in the story, it was just Nefer's character being built and worked on, and Tut was taking the back seat for the first part. See, in the later half of the movie, we finally get to know more about Tut, what his weaknesses are, and what he needs to overcome for him to actually learn and grow. In this case, I've mentioned it before, but he's scared of high speeds, and is only riding the coattail of his success from past winnings, and he reveals this in a quiet moment of them just talking. It did also come off as a surprise since Nefer complimented him on being brave, and then he just had the sudden urge to deny it, as if he couldn't lie to her. And I think it's best to put those breather moments right by the end, where we both know about these two and see them actually grow to tolerate and understand each other. Because I felt like it would have made sense why Tut would want to deny being seen as brave, since he doesn't want to lie about himself to Nefer, who he's come to get close to. Let's do a quick revisions with Rosmo. That's gonna happen in the middle of the video instead of at the end. I think maybe this is the end, we don't know. Now for those new, revisions with Rosmo is basically me tinkering with the pacing or plot development in the movie without sacrificing or changing too much of the original, just to see what it'll seem like with those changes. Now I just want to switch the scenes a little bit. They get to run away from the theater and meet Ed, and instead of rejecting Ed and going off on their own for a while, we can move the scene forward where Carnaby chases them to trap them in the museum, and they ride a bus that's going super fast. They escape him and then go to Ed because they have no place to stay, like in the original. And so now there are more higher stakes with Nefer's decision to stay and make the song and broadcast it. Not only will it show Carnaby where to find them, but it will also make it hard for Tut to get the ring back. And with all that context, it would have been more meaningful for him to sacrifice all that so that Nefer can finally have a choice in her life like she's always wanted.
I have fought all my life to make my own decisions.
Then make this decision. I'll support you.
Wow, thanks, Tut. That means a lot.
When I first watched the scene, I only thought it looked like Tut agreed because she was complaining for a bit, but I think if it was in the order I mentioned before, I would be more surprised and really appreciate Tut's actions here, since there's so much to lose, and yet he will support Nefer in her aspirations either way. I'm not saying this is better than the original, okay? I just wanted to play around with things a bit. So then they do the music video, but with better outfits for Nefer, and then we get to the balcony scene. This scene, we can change to Tut complimenting Nefer for her singing and passion, and Nefer retorts by admiring his bravery and kindness. And then this is where Tut reveals his tragic backstory of being scared of high speeds because of the accident. So in this scene, it's not just Tut learning more about Nefer, but both of them actually learning something about each other in the same scene instead of separating the two. But yeah, that's all I can say about this movie. It really is fun and a nice watch with friends and family. I don't think it's the type to build up a fandom or niche audience like Red Shoes, but it's still a great watch nonetheless, and I really do recommend you watch it. It can just give you a nice relaxing time. No time to rest? Swipe to the sponsors. Tokyo Treat and Sakurako are subscription boxes that deliver Japanese exclusive treats right at your doorstep. Tokyo Treat gives you modern Japanese snacks, while Sakurako gives you a more traditional snacking experience. It's only up to you to choose which one you want to try. Their boxes are seasonal, so if you miss this month's, it's gone. Both boxes have magazines where you can read all about what snacks are inside, the ingredients, the allergens, and of course, about Japan and the month's theme. This month, Tokyo Treat is sending you Osaka Snackcation, giving you snacks from Japan's culinary capital. My favorite is the vegetarian ramen, which isn't so vegetarian now because I ate it with eggs and dilis. But all of the ingredients of the whole packet itself is vegetarian. Get a little more fruity this Pride Month with Sakurako's Mochi and Fruit Marvel. They squished in a bunch of different kinds of mochi and fruit flavored snacks. I liked eating their Momo Kibidango, which is peach flavored rice cakes. I'm not gonna lie, I was scared to try this because I did not like peaches, but I've come to overcome it, and I've actually liked it a little bit, kind of, because it's a lot more sweet than sour. I don't know if peaches are supposed to be sweet or sour, but I like the taste. Get a box now and try to find out all the other snacks each box has in store for you. But hey, I'm not gonna leave you hanging. Here is a promo code to get you $5 off of your first purchase. You're welcome. If you want to read more about Tokyo Treat or Sakurako, links to their sites and where to buy each box are available in the description. Thanks again Tokyo Treat and Sakurako for sponsoring this video. So yeah, big thanks to my patrons. If you want to support the channel or get me to watch a movie you'd like, go over to my Patreon and check out the tiers. Shoutouts to Jacob K, Minehack, Christian V, Cross, and F Ignite in the Dill Pickles tier.